Welcome back. You're watching News X. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. In a verdict that has sparked outrage nationwide, the Delhi High Court has suspended the life sentence of former BJP MLA Kuldeep Sengar in the 2017 rape of a minor in Uttar Pradesh's Unnao district. The trial court that convicted Sengar ruled that Sengar qualifies as a public servant, relying on the term's definition under the Prevention of Corruption Act, which includes MLAs. Now, the Delhi High Court has opined that it is the IPC definition of public servant that must be considered. This, the court's judgment stated, meant that Section 5C of the POCSO Act that attracts life imprisonment is not made out against Sengar, as he does not fall under the public servant category. The Delhi High Court also stated that Sengar has already undergone 7 years and 5 months of incarceration, which is more than the minimum number of years. The High Court further stated the trial court had erred by ignoring government school records which showed that the victim was not a minor at the time. The move ignited massive protests, with the victim and her mother also staging a sit-in protest at the India Gate, following which they were detained by police. The survivor has also stated she wishes to meet with Prime Minister Modi and President Murmu to issue a plea against Sengar's release. She sought PM's intervention as well and said she wants to apprise him of the injustice done to her. Now, amidst the uproar over the Delhi High Court's order for suspension of sentence and grant of bail to expelled BJP leader Kuldeep Sengar in the 2017 Unnao rape case, a petition has been filed in the Supreme Court challenging the High Court's order. It's been filed by advocates Anjali Patil and Pooja Shilpkar. The petition has urged the top court to stay the December 23rd order of the High Court, contending that the High Court passed the order without considering that the trial court had said that Sengar must remain in jail for the rest of his natural life. The petitioners asserted that the transfer of the case was itself a judicial acknowledgement of the accused's influence and intimidation capacity, and the High Court has misdirected itself by granting the suspension of sentence. Joining us now live is Anjali Patel, who's of course petitioner in this case in the Supreme Court. She's of course petitioned the Supreme Court against this judgment in the Unnao case. Anjali, thank you for being with us on News X. Can you tell us a bit more about your petition which you filed in the Apex Court, and has it been taken cognizance of just yet?
यस, सबसे पहले बात करें कि ये पिटीशन मैंने इसलिए फाइल की है क्योंकि ये एक रेप एंड मर्डर केस है। क्योंकि विक्टिम के साथ रेप हुआ और विक्टिम एक सिर्फ ओनली जॉब के पर्पस से गई थी, जिसके साथ रेप खुद ही नहीं किया, नौकर ने किया जो भी उनके साथ थे। उसके बाद उसको किसी और के लिए दे दिया गया और उसके बाद उसके फादर ने ऑब्जेक्शन किया एफआईआर के लिए। एफआईआर इतना लेट होती है, उसके बाद उसके एफआईआर होने के बाद उसके फादर का मर्डर कर दिया जाता है। ऐसे केसेस में उसके जो विटनेस थे उनका मर्डर कर दिया जाता है, जिसको लेके हाई कोर्ट ने अगर बेल किया है तो ये बिल्कुल ऐसे कितने केसेस में बेल किया है हाई कोर्ट ने कि जो रेप और मर्डर केसेस में बेल किया हो। और सेकंड ये है कि हाई कोर्ट ने बेल ही नहीं किया, 53 पेज का जजमेंट है और उसमें ये भी कहा कि फॉर्मेलिटीज जो हैं उनको विद इन 1 आवर में कंप्लीट करके रिलीज कर दिया जाए। ये इस तरीके का जजमेंट पास किया हाई कोर्ट ने, जिसको लेके मैंने ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट में एसएलपी दायर की है एज अ सोशल एक्टिविस्ट। फीमेल को के लिए एक सोसाइटी में फीमेल का जो व्यू है किस तरीके से रहा कि अब तो इस तरीके से अगर चलता रहा, हाई कोर्ट इस तरीके से अगर बेल करेगी, जजमेंट पढ़ के तो ऐसा लगता है कि जैसे अपील डिसाइड कर दी हो हाई कोर्ट ने। और उसमें टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन को जो लिखाया गया है ये तो आमतौर पर होती है, लेकिन एक टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन रही बात इसकी कि सेक्शन 5 को जो डिफाइन किया है, सेक्शन 5 को क्या इस तरीके के लोग पब्लिक सर्वेंट में नहीं आएंगे? अगर इस तरीके के पर्सन नहीं आएंगे तो किस तरीके के पर्सन आएंगे? इस चीज को भी मैंने अपनी पिटीशन में लिखा है।
जी बिल्कुल। अंजलि, और पिटीशन को क्या सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अब तक स्वीकारा है?
अभी सुप्रीम कोर्ट में इवन मैंने कल नाइट में ही फाइल किया है। स्वीकार करने की बात यह है कि मेरा सुप्रीम कोर्ट में दायर करके मेरी अपनी बात को वहां रखना है। अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट आगे क्या करता है इस पिटीशन पर, हियरिंग के टाइम पर क्या होता है, मेरी सुप्रीम कोर्ट से यही रिक्वेस्ट है, यही मैंने प्रेयर की है कि जल्द से जल्द सुनवाई हो इस पर और जो रिलीज बेल किया है उस पर स्टे हो, बेल को कैंसिल किया जाए।
इस केस में आपका कैसे इंटरेस्ट जागा? क्या इस केस को आप तब से फॉलो कर रही थी या इस फैसले से आप आहत होकर आपने ये फाइल किया?
इस केस को मैंने जब ये इंसिडेंट हुआ तब से मैंने फॉलो किया है विक्टिम को। जब ये केस ट्रांसफर होकर उन्नाव से दिल्ली में आया तब भी मैंने इसको फॉलो किया, लेकिन मुझे ये उम्मीद नहीं थी इवन हाई कोर्ट से कि हाई कोर्ट इस तरीके से लोअर कोर्ट से कन्विक्शन हो जाता है। एक्सपेडिशनली ट्रायल भी हुआ इसका, और उसके बाद हाई कोर्ट से बेल, वो भी ये कहते हुए कि 7 साल 5 महीने सजा काटी है। अरे ऐसे कितने लोग हैं जेल के अंदर जो 20 साल से रेप एंड मर्डर केस में अंदर पड़े हैं, उनको क्यों नहीं अभी तक रिलीज किया गया? फिर अगर इस सिचुएशन में इनको रिलीज कर दिया गया तो ये तो विक्टिम के लिए एकदम, ये इस तरीके से हर फीमेल के लिए ये गलत है कि मतलब हर फीमेल के साथ क्या होगा, अक्यूज आएगा, कोई भी व्यक्ति आएगा, रेप एंड मर्डर करेगा, 5 साल बाद उसको है ही कि निकल ही जाएंगे। तो ये तो सोसाइटी के लिए भी गलत इफेक्ट गया है इस जजमेंट के कारण।
जी बिल्कुल। और अंजलि, अब खबर ये भी हमें मिल रही है कि शायद सीबीआई भी इस केस को अपील करेगा। सीबीआई भी इस
सीबीआई करे, मोस्ट वेलकम, लेकिन मैंने अपने अकॉर्डिंग उसको अपनी बात को रखा है एज अ फीमेल सोशल एक्टिविस्ट।
तो आप चाहेंगे अगर सीबीआई का भी स्वीकार हो उच्च न्यायालय में तो आपकी भी बात सुनी जाए, आपको अटैच किया जाए उस केस में?
बिल्कुल, मैं चाहूंगी कि सीबीआई का, जो सीबीआई अगर यहाँ आती है, मोस्ट वेलकम, वो अपना व्यू रखेगी। मैं चाहती हूँ कि मेरे मैटर को टैग किया जाए, मुझे भी सुना जाए इस पिटीशन पे।
ये आप बताइए अंजलि कि लीगल बुनियाद पे हाई कोर्ट का जो फैसला था वो आपको क्यों गलत लगा है?
बिल्कुल गलत इसलिए कि एक पॉइंट वही सेक्शन 5 को लेके बोला गया है। लीगल बुनियाद पे तो अगर लीगल बुनियाद पे देखा जाए कि तब तो जस्टिस सबके साथ इस तरीके का होना चाहिए, जो 20 साल से अंदर है उनको भी बाहर कर दिया जाए। फिर जेल, एक कानून का भरोसा ही खत्म हो गया ना लीगल के तौर पे देखा जाए तो। कौन भी ऐसे भरोसा करेगा कि यही माना जाएगा कि रेप और मर्डर केस में बेल तो हो ही जाएगी? तो क्या इसमें रहा?
क्या आपकी बात हुई है पीड़िता से या परिवार से?
पीड़िता से ना, पीड़िता के परिवार से मेरी कोई बात नहीं हुई है। मैंने ओनली जजमेंट को रीड किया है। जजमेंट के रीड करने के बाद मैंने अपनी बात को रखा है। बट मैं चाहती हूँ कि इस तरीके से पीड़िता के लिए ही यूँ देखा जाए मैं, क्योंकि सोसाइटी की हर वो फीमेल इस तरीके से अगर टॉर्चर होती हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि हर किसी को इस तरीके से अपनी बात को रखना चाहिए।
और पूजा शिल्पकार आपकी साथी है? आप दोनों ने साथ में?
हाँ, वो मेरी साथी हैं, पूजा शिल्पकार।
ओके, आप दोनों ने साथ में ये पिटिशन जो है वो फाइल किया है। और क्यों आपको लगता है ये केस जो है इस पे सबकी इतनी निगरानी है? पूरा देश जो है वो इस केस को बड़े बारीकी से देख रहा है। पीड़िता तो खुद बाहर आई थी इसके विरोध में, उन्होंने प्रोटेस्ट भी किया, शायद वो राहुल गांधी से भी मिली, ऐसी खबर आ रही है। और क्यों आपको लग रहा है कि पूरा देश की नजर इस केस पर है?
क्योंकि मेरा मानना है ये जो अक्यूज है कुलदीप सेंगर जी बहुत ही पावरफुल व्यक्ति हैं, और इन्होंने बहुत ही ज्यादा आफ्टर इंसिडेंट इन्होंने पीड़िता के परिवार को बहुत ही ज्यादा चोट पर, इवन जो एडवोकेट इस केस को फाइट कर रहे थे उनका भी एक्सीडेंट करवाया। पीड़िता साथ में थी, विटनेस साथ में थे, 2 लोग की डेथ हो जाती है, पीड़िता को घायल हो जाती है, एडवोकेट घायल हो जाती है। तो ऐसी सिचुएशन में मुझे लगता है इस सारी चीजों को देखते हुए कि पीड़िता की तो लाइफ तो सफर ही करेगी आगे। ऐसे व्यक्ति को तो फांसी मिलनी चाहिए और हाई कोर्ट से बेल ग्रांट हो जाती है।
अंजलि, शुक्रिया हमारे संग जुड़ने के लिए। कुछ और मेहमानों का रुख मैं करना चाहता हूं। इस वक्त ब्रिंडा डीगे भी हमारे संग जुड़ चुकी है, सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता हैं, सोशल एक्टिविस्ट हैं। ताहिरा हसन इज ऑल्सो लाइव विद अस, एक्टिविस्ट। Sanam Singh Atzeri, advocate, also joins us live. Anjali, of course, was just with us on the broadcast. Let me come to you first. Brinda Dige, how shocked were you at the Delhi High Court judgment, which of course did go very lenient on Kuldeep Sengar in this case? And what would you now expect from the Supreme Court, given the fact that we are hearing that this advocate on the panel has approached the Supreme Court against the judgment, and we're learning the CBI is also likely to appeal?
I was shocked, but I was also, and I'm still am, outraged that 2 judges together, we are told that you can't question judges, you can question the court. But the court cannot be an inanimate thing. It is human beings, public functionaries, who apply their mind to give orders. So, well, then we have to question the judges, because I think it is too much of a colonial language where you say, don't question the judges, the Raj, you don't question them. But I think In Mother of Democracies, it is your right and my right and right of every citizen in this country question. When we, with whatever understanding that we have, feel that this is absolute injustice, it is a brutal blow to justice itself. Courts are our last resort. Where else will we go as citizens to ask for the justice? And when the judges say, we just now heard the advocate who has filed in the Supreme Court, if you are using both the letter and the spirit of law to say, I am not a public servant. Now, first question, it took 1 year for an FIR to be registered. So in 2018, the judges did not know that he's not a public servant. Well, how did they give him that conviction? And the law is very clear. The judge can use his or her discretionary power and send the matter to the parliament and ask the speaker's permission to treat this man as a public servant at that point of time if the law had a loophole. So what was it that the judges were doing there? Not application of might. That is their job. That is what they are paid for by us, the taxpayers. And then you say it is not aggravated because that the law says is different. The law says if you're a public servant, then that rape is aggravated. Rape is a rape. There cannot be a less aggravated and a more aggravated rape.
Tahir Hassan, come in here. On the High Court's contentions, what did you make of them? What did you disagree with them in what the High Court said, and what you hope for and expect now from the Supreme Court?
No, I have faith in Supreme Court because the highest court of the land always stood with the women. Let's see what is going to happen. But it's very shocking, that the person committing a heinous crime who was in 2019 convicted and sentenced life imprisonment got the bail. What kind of signal it gives? What kind of precedent it sets? That the survival faith in justice is shaken, and shows that her dignity is negotiable if the person is, powerful. He can get away after committing the heinous crime. And, I was in the fact-finding team in 2017 when this heinous crime had taken place. And I was there in part of that fact-finding team. It was headed by Dr. Rup-Rekha Verma. And there we saw how the family was so living under so much fear. And so it was shocking for me to see all of us. And that girl, she knows that the person Sengar is so powerful, man. And now he get away. We talk so much about the women's security and all. What kind of women's security is not a priority? And this is going to weaken the deterrence. We always say, what will be the deterrence? How to curb the rising violence against the women? And the man who's violating the women's body, he can get away after committing heinous crime. And he will roam around. And
right. In fact, we also have now Yogita Bhayana joining us as well, social activist Yogita Bhayana. This case is all set to be now challenged in the Supreme Court. We're learning that two advocates have also filed a petition. We just spoke with one of them, Anjali Patel, on the show today. The CBI also, sources telling us, getting all set to appeal this case as well.
See, now I think it's a good sign that people want to file cases, and especially the advocate lobby. I think it's a good idea. It will build more pressure, and CBI has also suddenly, shaken up, though they did not do their job that well initially. Now, if they have woken up to the reality, let them do their bit now. And we are also going to Supreme Court, filing it soon. So I think then it makes good sense to take the legal course. However, there was some lapses, I would say, from the lawyers, from this side also. I would not run away from that reality. However, and CBI as well. So what basis, I don't want to comment right now, but there was some kind of compromise, and we can really read that in the judgment also, and we need to take this up now more strongly, and thanks to the media, because of that the right pressure has been built, and hopefully we have some ray of hope. Unfortunately, after this judgment, we were all shaken up, but at the same time now we can see how
What shook you up the most? What shook you up the most? What shook you up the most about the High Court judgment? What outraged the survivor the most in the High Court judgment? What was, what stood out for you, Yogita Behana?
The higher courts.
Yogita Behana, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm saying, what shook you up so much? You're saying you were shaken up by the judgment. What shook you up the most? Also, what had outraged the survivor so much that she came out onto the streets to protest immediately almost at India Gate?
See, look at the brutality she has gone through. Look at what she has gone through in her life. I have met her in the hospital when she was critical after the accident, which was actually done by this goon, and he killed almost all of them in the car. The truck had black number plate. Evidently he got her. He wanted to get her killed. She was the only one who survived in that car accident. So, this is something very serious. I would say you rape a girl, then you gang rape, get her gang raped by your goons. Then you try to get her killed. You kill her father in the police custody. What worse we want to see in this country? And after that, what you really need is justice, and that also you don't get. So that was a genuine outrage, and if that outrage is not there in anybody in this country, I think they are lacking some humanity. Unfortunately, that's the reason it has triggered. And when we got to know about this judgment, and we wanted to meet she had left for home. She had gone home, and she didn't want to she wanted to go back home, and she was so disheartened. She was suicidal. Her husband was suicidal. She just recently got married a couple of years ago. She's trying to live a normal life. But unfortunately, when she heard this, she just went blank. She called me. She was crying. And I was also blank. I didn't know what happened exactly, why this out of nowhere, this order of his release has come. So, then I told her we can't just let it happen. So I called her back. We went to the lawyer who was currently handling. I asked him what went wrong. He had no answers to give. So we just decided, and we will sit on protest, because what else is left? Tell me. If a lawyer is feeling helpless that he couldn't help, we don't know what to do. So we went to the India Gate, three of us, the mother, myself, and her. We were not even ready for it in terms of we never planned that day like that. So I didn't want to mobilize anybody. It was almost late in the night. So we just sat just to feel little, kind of not better, but just to let out that anguish so that she can go home at least. And, next day we can think what we need to do. And we were dragged. Can you imagine the kind of how the police dragged her? She already has a lot of wounds in her body. She survived critically a few years back, so she's wounded completely. Her body is very weak. She has 2 rods in her limbs and whatnot. She's going through.
Yes.
I requested them not to drag her. They did not hear me. They lifted her with broken hand. The mother was dragged. She has bruises all over her body. I was also pushed into the police bus. They were all drunk. They were all saying drama kar rahi hai. Do you understand what a victim will go through? What kind of a banana land we are in? And you can't even protest. They said you can't protest. It's illegal to protest at India Gate. Is it legal to rape a girl in this country and not protest?
Okay. She is seeking time now, I believe, to meet the President and the Prime Minister as well. She has sought time to meet the President and Prime Minister as well, Yogita?
We have asked time, and we have written letters to Prime Minister and Home Minister. But leader of opposition called us yesterday. He wanted to meet. So we went and met. He promised that he will raise the women issues, and we raised other issues as well. Other cases like, Ankita Bhandari case and other cases. So he has promised, that he will be the voice for the women's safety. Let's see. He has promised the girl all support and emotional support.
Yes, we'll be tracking this story. Appreciate you joining us, Yogita Behana. Giving us, of course, the latest update in the victims' fight for justice. Sanam is also with us live. Sanam Singh Adzeri, let me come to you first on what you now hope for from the Supreme Court, what you made of that High Court judgment, and what really this says about women's safety in the country.
Good evening. So this is the biggest travesty of justice. It's shocked my conscience, and I'm sure it's shocked the conscience of anyone who's heard. When one hears all that this victim has been through, it seems like a bad Hindi movie. Only it's real life. This is the kind of movie one would see and come home from the theater thinking, this is how our country runs. Sadly, this is what we are seeing today. A girl was raped. She was a minor. The person who raped her was a 4-time MLA, sitting MLA. To call a current MLA not a public servant is again shocking for me. The definition of public servant, as the High Court has elucidated in its judgment, completely shocks me, because whether you look at the Indian Penal Code or whether you look at the Prevention of Corruption Act, whether you look at the Narasimha Rao judgment, the definition of a public servant broadly speaks of someone who holds an office, a public office, who's drawing a salary from the treasury. I mean, if you were to tick the box of what you would define as a public service, everything ticks the box for this gentleman. So the fact that the High Court has passed such a judgment actually leaves me gobsmacked, and I really hope the Supreme Court goes into defining who is a public servant, understanding the circumstantial evidences, the circumstances surrounding this particular crime. It is a heinous crime. Her father was killed in judicial custody. There were many extenuating circumstances that show there was intent, there was malafide. It was not somebody who was off the street. It was somebody using a position of power to intimidate someone who is poor, who is underprivileged, and who was at the time even underage. And I really hope the Supreme Court defines this public, servant situation. I also hope to see the Supreme Court looking at POCSO as a social enactment to protect children. We are not just signatories of the United Nations Convention on the Protection of Children. If this happened to a daughter of a minister, would this be happening? No. If this happened to supposing
right, you believe that,
just say,
yes,
yeah. So if the
so you are bringing in the political patronage. You are bringing in the political patronage of the former MLA.
I'm saying if the victim was someone different, if the victim was the daughter of a governor, or the victim was the daughter of a minister and was sexually molested by another government official who was probably not a personal, not a public servant, because
yes,
he's an elected person,
yes,
would we be having the same judgment?
Brinda Dike, clearly, of course, right now he's not being let off because there is another case as well. But this acquittal because of not acquittal, but this bail because of a technicality, is it then time to strengthen the laws further? Does that show that there are still these technicalities and loopholes which let criminals go free?
Absolutely. One part of it is strengthening, which also means amending the rules wherever it is required and the laws. But the other part is judicial reforms. Because for too long we are saying that we cannot question them. So where is judicial accountability? Should they be held accountable at all? Can anybody just pass an order and say, now you go to the High Court, now you go to the Supreme Court? I'm also hoping that the Supreme Court will revoke this and get this fellow back inside jail where he belongs. It is not only bad, it is terrible, criminal for the survivor, but it is a very bad precedent. Now, every other gang rapist, every other rapist murderer who's going to quote this order and say, okay, let me out. And look at the way they have talked about 5-kilometer radius from where the survivor is. So is it in Unnao? Is it in Delhi? And do you require, he can be 500 miles away. It doesn't make a difference, because what he did, it has been done by his goons. He has the money, he has the power, he has the influence, he has everything. So we want to say, yes, amend the laws, strengthen them for the victims and survivors in the interest of justice. Now you cannot sit on a high horse there and say, okay, you bring me a loophole and then I will let go of you. So where are we going to go as citizens asking for justice? So if the requirement today is amending the laws, then amend it. So if somebody has to bring it to the parliament, I think it is time. The ruling dispensation must now say, we need to relook at all of this to strengthen the laws so that we don't have people coming up and saying, yeah, here is a loophole I found out, and give bail or send this fellow out.
I'm afraid we run out of time, so I'm going to have to leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. Let's slip into a short break.